Where are you when you're most yourself? Where are you when you're closest to the earth? As I've gotten older, something that I've come to realize is how much a piece of land and its surroundings can hold a lasting impact on you. But when you think about the land that has affected you thus far in your life, I can't help to imagine that most people's first ideas are of their family homes or the schools where they met their lifelong best friends. But that's not the kind of land that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fields you and your great-grandmother both ran through as children picking wildflowers, or the grounds that your ancestors fought for because they knew it would be passed down through your family and eventually fall to you. For me, this place is my grandparents' cabin, and the land that it was built on. My mother and aunt spent summers there as a kid and have years of childhood memories there. When my sister and I got older, we would do the same thing and spend our summers there at the cabin with our grandparents. This made so many more memories for the entire family. The cabin to me became a kind of sanctuary for my family. It was just us there, and nothing bad was going to happen while we were there. This is what helped me learn the true importance of having your family around you. A specific memory of mine that has stuck with me of the cabin was when my uncle and I would pack a bag and set out on the canoe to the dams and spend the whole day frog hunting and feeling like we were the only ones around, and then return to some glorious dinner with my family and eat while filling in everybody on our adventures of the day. During the year, I lived in the city with my family, so the majority of my surroundings were buildings, cars, and city commotion. But when summer would eventually roll around, I could escape to the cabin and be surrounded by trees, water, bugs, and the natural world. Growing up, it was just me, my sister, and my parents. Family would come and visit occasionally, but for most of the time, it was just us four. I really didn't mind this until I started spending my summers at our family cabin and learned how it felt to have that sense of family surrounding you at all times. This feeling is now something I find myself craving when I'm away from home for long periods of time or just feeling particularly lost. About 7 years ago, my family could no longer afford to own and maintain our cabin. Kids were getting older, and it was time to give it to another family that we knew would love it and cherish it. When I think about our family's cabin and all of its memories tied to it, at first I get filled with a warm feeling, thinking of my family all together, happily celebrating the summer together with no care in the world. But then I also remember that this cabin is no longer in my family. This decision to sell our cabin was a very difficult decision for my whole family, and I know that everybody was very upset for a long time. So I also remember those feelings of loss when I think about my family's cabin. The cabin is located in Radisson, Wisconsin, which is a village that has a total land area of 0.39 square miles. During the 1960s, a new rail service provided an outlet for agricultural and wood products that continued the village of Radisson's wealth. The rail line was abandoned in the end of the 1960s, which proposed many issues for the little village, but it soon became centrally located at the intersection of 3 state highways as well as the county road, which brought much business back in. The land at which my family's cabin was built belongs to the Ojibwa tribe and is located right next to the Chippewa River, which was named after the Chippewa people. The Ojibwe are an Algonquin-speaking tribe and constitute the largest indigenous group north of Mexico. Over the time period of the 1730s to 1850s, the Ojibwas were in conflict with another tribe called the Dakota over the region around the western point of Lake Superior and the headwaters of the Mississippi River. In the end, the Ojibwas were successful and managed to push out the Dakota tribe and begin their main settlement in Wisconsin on Madeline Island, which is not far from Radisson, where my family's cabin was later built. The flowage that I grew up swimming in and playing in was formed by the joining of the West Fork Chippewa River and the East Fork Chippewa River. The flowage was created when a power company, without any approval from the Ojibwa tribe, built a dam on the Chippewa River and flooded thousands of acres of tribal land. In 1923, with approval by the federal government, the same power company flooded the Ojibwa village of Pa-Kwa-Wong, and then later promised to restore any damage that they did, but never actually restored anything for the tribe. In 1971, members of the Ojibwa tribe took over the dam and eventually were granted rights to its operation, along with any land owned by the power company. The effects of the flooding are still evident in 2023. This history of the land was something that I was never aware of during the summers that I spent in Radisson, Wisconsin. For this project, I reached out to my grandparents for any family or historical information that they could give me. My great-grandfather on my mother's side was a doctor in Rice Lake, which was very close in relation to where the Ojibwa people were located at the time, so he would sometimes treat them. My family does not know the complete story, but we are pretty sure that at some point the Ojibwa people, in order to thank my great-grandfather for his medical services, gifted him 2 bandolier bags. Bandolier bags are large, heavily beaded pouches with a slit at the top that have a beaded strap worn diagonally over the shoulder. Just 2 years ago, my grandparents moved into a smaller house and went through all of their storage. They rediscovered these 2 bandolier bags that have been packed away for many years, and at this point, were providing no use to my grandparents. My grandmother reached out to the Ojibwa Tribal Board about returning the bags to them, and some other of my family members made the trip there and hand-delivered the bags back to the Ojibwa tribe. Here is the letter that my grandmother received after restoring the bandolier bags to the Ojibwa Tribal Board. Dear Roberta, on behalf of the Lac Corte Orelis Band of Lake Superior Chippewa Indians, I write to express our sincere gratitude for your generosity of gifting the 2 bandolier bags belonging to your grandfather. We've proudly placed the beautiful bandolier bags at our Kinnamon Museum. The bags are stunning and now available for our tribal members and the public to view. Unfortunately, I was not able to meet your brother and his wife when they brought the 2 bandolier bags earlier this month. However, I did see pictures of the bags given to your great-grandfather, Dr. Trowbridge, when he practiced medicine in Hayward area over 100 years ago. They are very beautiful and represent great Ojibwe artist quality, as well as the history of our tribe when past generations were able to express our traditions and environment through art. These beautiful beaded bags were once commonly held by our Ojibwa families and have very few of them today. Every time one returns home, we are reminded of a powerful history of our culture and our ancestors and how important it is to teach younger generations of who we were and who we are today. When I reached out to my grandmother, she also shared something else with me that I found very interesting. She sent me 2 photographs that she'd recently uncovered. The first photo shows her grandmother, my great-grandmother, sitting surrounded by a group of Ojibwa children on the stairs of a building. When my grandmother shared this photo with me, this is what she had to say about it. I never knew what this photo was about, but as stories about the American Indian schools began coming out, I put 2 and 2 together. Since these schools were designed to make the native children into quote-unquote proper white children and treated them horribly in the process, this photo brings very mixed emotions. My grandmother must have thought she was doing a good thing at the time. I certainly wish I had known more about my grandmother's youth. End quote. When I learned all of this information, I was feeling in a similar way to how my grandmother described herself feeling, mixed emotions. It's obviously not a fun thing to learn that your direct relative played a role in attempting to erase the Native American culture from our country, but also it's so important to be aware of your own history so that you can learn from what they have done in the past and do better for yourself and for future generations. And to know that my family was able to return a part of the tribe back to them and restore what was truly theirs makes me feel as if we were already doing better. These are all things that I would have been forever unaware of if it was not for this project making me take a deeper look into things that are important to me. History and where we come from is all we have to keep us moving forward.